Zwift racing is taking off. As well as being a virtual cycling playground for riding and training, it's also the perfect venue for getting nice and competitive.
If you haven't tried it yet, you really should. It's open to all levels, and once you're on the Zwift platform, it's pretty much the most accessible form of bike racing going.
In this video, we're going to go through the basics of Zwift, how to get into it, and how to do it. And who knows, well, you might have what it takes to race the Cycling Esports World Championships.
Before we get started though, what is Zwift racing?
Now there are two types. You've got solo time trials, that's where you're solo against the clock, much like being out on the road. Now there are no group dynamics at work here, but you have got that incentive it being a race, so you can go that little bit deeper and get that little bit more out yourself.
For most people though, Zwift racing is a mass start, just like in a road race. Because of the drafting dynamic on the Zwift platform, pelotons are formed, breakaways are made and chased back, and breakaways are forged. It can be pretty tactical, and the time actually goes really quickly.
Now other than it being in a virtual world, with your competitors being towns, cities, countries, thousands of miles from where you are, the races tend to be a lot shorter, so around 20 to 40 kilometers long, and well, it's free to enter.
As we said earlier, anyone can race on Zwift, as the races are divided into categories according to ability.
Now there are 4 groups, A to D. They're all done on your power to weight ratio, which is your FTP divided by your body weight.
Category A riders can look to average 4 watts per kilo and higher. B is 3.2 to 3.9 watts per kilo, C is 2.5 to 3.1 watts per kilo, and D is 2.4 watts per kilo and below. Bear in mind though, these are average numbers, and there will be times where you will be pressing on the pedals much harder and times where you'll be gasping for air trying to recover. Zwift, as you know, will give you an estimate FTP based on what riding you do, but if you want to do a quick fitness test, that'll solve all the problems.
Yeah, I always find actually once I've raced on Zwift that my FTP gets adjust that little bit higher. Now I think that's because the added incentive of racing, it's kind of spurs me on that little bit more.
To find an event to race, there are 2 quick and easy ways. Firstly, head to the zwift.com/events and you can see the calendar there, or open the Zwift Companion app on your phone.
Now the races are clearly marked, different lengths, different courses. All you have to do to find out more about them is click on the race, have a browse, and get a feel for the different types of events out there.
Yeah, as you can see, there are loads and loads of events to choose from. There's around 100 every day, and it'll come down to what's most convenient for you at the time. Pre-work, lunch hour, post-work, pre-dinner. Not often you can get such a competitive fix in such a short space of time. And you can do it without losing any friends.
Oh, that's a bonus. Now once you've selected your race and your category, you can then set a prompt that alerts you at the time of event, meaning if you're making a cup of tea or doing the hoovering, you don't miss the start. The equipment you need to race on Zwift is as you need across the rest of the platform. You need to start off with a Zwift membership, an indoor trainer or a turbo, a speed and a cadence sensor. Now, however, I would suggest you go for an interactive trainer. That way it makes the experience a whole lot more enjoyable.
We're using the Elite Sweeto today, which is a really affordable smart trainer. But don't let its affordability fool you, because it can generate up to 1,900 watts of resistance and simulate gradients of up to 15%. That being said, if you're going to put out that many watts, you probably want to know more about the World Championships coming up.
Now, if you are racing in the higher ability categories, as important as a trainer that puts out a good amount of resistance, it's also the power element. Now, a lot of race organizers will require you to have a power meter reading device and also a heart rate monitor. That way, it keeps you nice and legitimate. Right, I need to get my heart rate monitor on.
It is a good idea to do a little warm-up before your race to get your legs ready to put the power down. Whatever you do, don't worry about the fast start. It will ease up after a few minutes. But if the worst does happen and you get dropped, you can always pick a different race and maybe select the category down. It's no big deal.
Now, we're not going too much into the tactics here, because most of the golden rules to road racing still apply. You want to stick close to the front of the bunch, that way you can see what's going on, who's attacking, who's chasing, and if they're being brought back. That being said, you don't want to be the one that's chasing, because otherwise you'll waste all that energy. But you don't want to sandbag either. You want to do your bit and get stuck in, just like Manon here. Go on, Manon. Manon, dig in.
When you do fancy having a go at attacking, make sure you choose the right moment. Maybe on a short little climb or straight after when everyone's desperately trying to recover.
Oh, my personal favourite. But you should also keep your eyes peeled for the power-ups, another depart away from the real world. These bonuses are rewarded at random. Now you could get a little bit of extra draft for a few seconds, or it could reduce your weight on those climbs. The feather, my absolute favourite. Which was yours?
The arrow one. All about the arrow gains. So I've just finished that race and it was super tough as usual. But when you do finish happy and exhilarated, you should head over to zwiftpowered.com to get your results. Once you're here, you can probably lose yourself to Zwift racing forever, as you compare yourself to friends, rivals, with ranking points and past racing history available for all to see.
So you're getting into this Zwift malarkey. We actually thought you might. So how do you take it further?
Well, when you're not racing yourself, why not watch other people race? E-racing is getting bigger and bigger, and there are loads you can learn from the commentators and watching the race tactics unfold in front of you.
And then don't forget, there's the inaugural UCI World Championships happening later on in the year. Now, if you have a Zwift membership, we cannot recommend racing enough.
Give it a go, you've got nothing to lose. It might just be your new favourite way of riding indoors.
Right, move aside, Manon. It's my turn to race.
Off you go.
Here we go now.
I've got more watts than you though.
I don't know about that, Manon.